Folks, before we get started with all the games and all the whole background stuff, let's just talk Dolphins-Texans first. This is tonight's game. Texans have won 4 in a row. Texans are favored by 7.5 at home. Over under is 44. Let me get the early morning odds, see if that's changed. Now we look 44.5, 45, depending on where you find it. Mostly you can get 7 or 7.5, depending on where you look here. Deshaun Watson. So last week they went to play Jacksonville, which was this terrifying defense, or was, maybe not so much anymore. And they sent him on a bus from Houston to Jacksonville because they were worried about flying him with a punctured lung. And then he went out and, he didn't throw for tons of yards, but he played okay.
I wonder if did he have a chaperone, or did they just kind of say, "Here, man, here's your bus ticket. Good luck."
Put him on a Greyhound? You think that's what they did?
I don't know. Was it a Greyhound? That seems unlikely, but
I bet it was a Madden Cruiser-ish, pretty awesome bus.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
It's impressive when a guy like that can go out there with a partially collapsed lung and do that. And he can't fly because they're afraid of what's going to happen if he flies. And he goes out and performs okay. And you're right, the Texans are on a 4-game winning streak. Now, it's not like an impressive 4-game winning streak. I mean,
it's four wins is 4 wins.
Yeah, no, they've beaten the dregs of the NFL, the Colts, Cowboys, Bills, and Jaguars, but certainly – I guess the Jaguars aren't really the dregs, but, certainly better than the alternative. So, yeah, I mean, you have to, when a guy goes out and does that, the team has to look at him with a little more respect and say, "Oh, man, you know what? This guy's really leading us around here. It's great."
Yeah. So other news from this game, Kiki Kute, the young receiver for the Texans, is out with a hamstring injury. The Dolphins are really hurting on offense. Albert Wilson, who was doing really well for them, hurt his hip. He's probably out for the year. Kenny Stills is out. So, they're going to be playing like Jakeem Grant and, not a heck of a lot. Danny Amendola. Actually, the one thing, Devontae Parker, I think Adam Gase said the other day, they're kind of feuding, and Devontae Parker's agent called Gase incompetent. And then they asked Gase if Parker was going to play. He was like, "Well, I don't have anybody else, so yeah." Go team. Yay.
That's what happens when, things, when you lose 3 or 4, right? Yeah.
So Brock Osweiler, it's the Brock Osweiler revenge game going back to Houston. That's a good one. I think the Texans defense has been playing really well. It's funny. They started with 0-3, and it looked like they were headed in a death spiral, and they've really bounced back. Their defense has been playing very well. I tend to think they're going to torture and just mash Brock Osweiler tonight. What do you think?
Oh, man, let's not talk about Brock in those terms.
No?
You know what? You're probably right.
It's Brocktober, so we can't really say too much bad about him.
He's actually played pretty well the last couple of games. He's never he started the last 2 games. He's played the last 3 games, and every game he's played in, he has a quarterback rating of 94.9 or better. He's never had a stretch like this in his career where he's played this well, which is kind of sad to say, but 6 touchdowns, 2 picks in the last 3 games. He's playing as well now as he ever has before. And really, who's to say that if he keeps playing this way, why couldn't he take over for Ryan Tannehill for good? Now, that's not a great thing either way, but he's playing pretty well. And you have to look at this game and say, why not Miami here? I know they're 7.5-point dogs, but they're only a game out of first place in the AFC East. Yeah, they haven't played well, but the Texans, I think, still aren't very good. I'm going Texans straight up, Dolphins to cover the spread. But this game, I think it's kind of right for Miami to take it if they play well and if Brock plays well.
All right. Yeah, I'm not a Brock believer. Maybe he'll convince me tonight. I'm more pessimistic on him than you are, especially with the receiving injuries.
No, he's been terrible throughout his career. There's no reason to be all that optimistic. I'm just saying that these last couple games, he's played well.
I agree.
Never played as well as he has right now. So who's to say?
All right. So we've got tonight. By the way, Texans historically, I don't get too much into the historical stats going way back. Texans favored by a touchdown or more at home, 2-8 against the spread. I don't know how far that goes back. It's probably a while. Just an interesting tidbit. Right now we've got on PickWatch. We don't have too many picks in on PickWatch.com or NFLPickWatch.com. 57% Texans in the early going on the picks there. So that's what you got. So you're Dolphins against the spread. What about straight up?
Texans. It's just, Thursday night game, a road team doesn't perform well. I mean, doesn't usually win those games. So I think Texans win straight up. And I think even on a neutral field, not on a neutral field, but at a regular time, maybe a different story. But yeah, I like the Texans to win, but it'll be close.
All right. I think it's one of those things where I don't want to watch it, but I know I will. Last week, I actually finally turned the game off. Every Thursday, remember when Thursday games used to always be terrible?
Yeah.
And early this year, they were actually pretty good. But I was always that person who I go, oh, it's a terrible game. It was, 3 years ago, Titans-Jaguars, when they both stunk. I go, yeah, I know, but I watched anyway. Yeah. Last week, Cardinals-Broncos at halftime, I was like, I can't do this to myself. Life's too short to watch the second half of this stupid game.
No, so, you can't torture. I think I watched about 3 minutes of that game, and I was like, all right, I've seen enough.
Yeah, but tonight I'm watching. I want to see how Deshaun Watson does. I think big night for you fantasy folks. I think Lamar Miller's in line for a big night, by the way. The Dolphins' run defense has been bad. Lamar Miller's he's in a sweet spot this week.